this time I'd like to call this meeting to order. I would like us to have a moment of silence. We would like to take a moment of silence for the 4 children who were lost in the tragic fire at their home on Tuesday night. Dory Glass was a 2nd grader and Deshaun Glass was a 1st grader, both students at Shoal Creek Elementary, and their younger siblings are Monty Glass and Dion Glass. Please keep their mother, Reba Glass, and the family in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is taking the oath of office. Do we have a set schedule or just go start around, start Mr. McGregor, come around, and have a little bit?
You'll have to build a corner. Go with you first.
Okay.
This side. There you go. There you go. This is what you're going to do. There are 2 oaths to be given. I'm going to let you as your first one, you'll read that up.
I, Wells Barksdale, citizen of Conyers, Rockdale County, Georgia, and being an employee of the Rockdale County Board of Education and recipient of public funds for service rendered at such employee, do hereby solemnly swear and affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of Georgia. I do further swear and affirm that I will truly and faithfully discharge all the duties required of me by law as a member of the Board of Education of Rockdale County to the best of my ability. I do further affirm that I am not the holder of any unaccounted for public money due this state, that I am not the holder of any office of trust under the government of the United States or any other state or foreign state, which I am prohibited from holding by law of the state of Georgia, and that I have met the residence requirements of this office. So help me God.
Hang on, you got one more. Don't start. Now this is your loyalty oath. You'll do the same. Raise your right hand.
I, Wells F. Barksdale, a citizen of the United States and being an employee of the Rockdale County and the recipient of public funds for service rendered as such employee, do hereby solemnly swear and affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of Georgia. So help me God.
All right, now you may sign. Congratulations. Leave it out. That's right. All right, we're doing alphabetically. Y'all just gonna have to. I'll sign it. Yeah, I'm signing it. All right.
Tony Daddy.
Tony Daddy, there you go. Y'all sit alphabetically. Come on up here. Okay, good. He can sit down and hold the Bible if you want to. Let him hold it. There you go. If you put your left hand on it, raise your right hand, and if you will swear that oath.
I am Tony Dowdy, a citizen of Conyers, Rockdale County, Georgia, and beginning an employee of Rockdale County Board of Education and the recipient of public funds for service rendered as such employee, do hereby solemnly swear and affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of Georgia. I do further swear or affirm that I will further and faithfully discharge all the duties required of me by law as a member of the Board of Education of Rockdale County to the best of my ability. I do further affirm that I am not the holder of any unaccounted for public money due this state, and I am not the holder of any office of trust under the government of the United States and other state or foreign state which I am prohibited from holding by the laws of the state of Georgia, and not have met the residence requirements of this office.
All right, part one. Man, here's your loyalty of.
I, Tony Dowdy, a citizen of the United States and being an employee of the Rockdale County and the recipient of public funds for services rendered as such employee, do hereby solemnly swear and affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of Georgia. So help me God.
All right, congratulations. The way I correct it. Right, you get this, and you get this. There you go. Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Mandy North.
All right, thank you.
Just the new ones.
Oh, yeah, that's right, Jim,
Do what? That's right.
I was next up, I was thinking Jim, but he got 2 years left.
It just seems like I've been here a long time.
Yeah, let them come around and hope they can hold the Bible for you. Apparently, y'all, it's okay to put on your reading glasses if you want to. No, I could do that, but it really makes it difficult because you have to repeat what I say, and I don't pronounce words as well as y'all do. So you put that, there you go, and then you will give the oath.
I, Mandy North, a citizen of Conyers, Rockdale County, Georgia, and being an employee of Rockdale County Board of Education and the recipient of public funds for service rendered as such employee, do hereby solemnly swear and affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of Georgia. I do further swear or affirm that I will truly and faithfully discharge all the duties required of me by law as a member of the Board of Education of Rockdale County, to the best of my ability. I do further affirm that I am not the holder of any unaccounted for public money due this state, that I am not the holder of any office or trust under the government of the United States, any other state or foreign state which I am prohibited from holding by the laws of the state of Georgia, and that I have met the residency requirements of this office. So help me God.
There you go. That's one. So far, doing great. There we go. There you go.
I, Mandy North, a citizen of the United States, and being an employee of Rockdale County and the recipient of public funds for services rendered as such employee, do hereby solemnly swear and affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of Georgia, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Sharon Farr.
Okay. I eventually got it. So, anyway, you can use your name, don't use it, all right? But you'll sign your name, they'll correct it. I don't do this, they get sent to me, okay? Come on. It's not that. So if you'll come on. I thought it was too when I opened up the package today. If you'll put your left hand on, there you go. However, if you can, you need to hold it, you can, or you leave it. Sharon. Oh, come on, let her hold the pie, all right? Yeah. Hold that right, good. All right. Left and right, there you go.
I, Sharon Farr, a citizen of Conyers, Rockdale County, Georgia, and being an employee of Rockdale County Board of Education and the recipient of public funds for service rendered as such employee, do hereby solemnly swear and affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of Georgia. I do further swear or affirm that I will truly and faithfully discharge all the duties required of me by law as a member of the Board of Education of Rockdale County, to the best of my ability. I do further affirm that I am not the holder of any unaccounted for public money due the state, and I am not the holder of any office of trust under the government of the United States, any other state or foreign state which I am prohibited from holding by the laws of the state of Georgia, and that I have met the residency requirements of this office. So help me God.
Part one. We go again. Use your own name though.
I, a citizen of the United, I, Sharon Farr.
I want to get that right.
A citizen of the United States and being an employee of Rockdale County and the recipient of public funds for services rendered as such employee, do hereby solemnly swear and affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of Georgia, so help me God.
Congratulations. Your oath appropriate, and when they get a new replacement, we'll sign. I just opened the mail. I don't know if you'll see some more, sorry. If you want to, keep these and you can scratch through them and then correct it. It's up to you, but you get a little card with not your name on it. Well, at least they were consistent. You need to always do, then the last two was your last name spelled correctly, isn't it? Okay. They're gonna try it out. Thank you. All right, Mr. Smith. You've done this before, so let everybody hold that for me. It doesn't say that. You put your left hand, raise your right hand, and
I, Bradley D. Smith, a citizen of Conyers, Rockdale County, Georgia, and being an employee of Rockdale County Board of Education, and a recipient of public funds for services rendered as such employee, do hereby solemnly swear and affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of Georgia. I do further swear and affirm that I will truly and faithfully discharge all the duties required by me, by law, as a member of the Rockdale County Board of Education to the best of my ability. I do further affirm that I am not the holder of unaccountable public money due this state, and that I am not the holder of any office of trust under the government of the United States or any state or foreign state which I am prohibited from holding by laws of the state of Georgia, and that I have met the residency requirements of this office. So help me God.
okay, part one. Part two. The loyalty of
I, Bradley D. Smith, a citizen of the United States, and being an employee of the Rockdale County School System and a recipient of public funds for services rendered as such employee, do hereby solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of Georgia. So help me God.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Board members, if we could have those who are just installing in the group picture, okay, that'd be great. If you will stand up front here. Actually, you're good down here, and Sharon, if you'll come up front. No hiding here. There you go. You'll stand there, and let's see. So if you and Wales will switch, and Wales, if you go. There you go.
That's a lot better.
That's better. We can move this if we need to, but I'm going back with it. Anybody in my way? Okay. Okay, I'll get it at the end of the line. Go ahead, y'all. That's all right. I'll wait. Go ahead. Let me do one more.
Anybody else want a photo?
Dinner's about to be served. I'm gonna sign up for these and I'll go. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Judge.
Don't forget your hat. I'm not gonna get that hat.
Okay, I kind of hated that Judge Irwin's leaving because usually he's got the gavel in his hand. But the next item on the agenda is election of officers.
Approval.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm moving too fast. We need to adopt the agenda. Do I hear a motion to adopt the agenda, and are there any additions?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Young, second by Ms. Smith to adopt the agenda. All those in favor, raise your hand. 7-4 and none opposed. Next item is election of the officers. The first item is election of board chair. Do I hear any nominations?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Jim McBride.
Any other nominations?
Yes, I'd like to nominate myself, Katrina Young.
Any other nominations? Okay, we have Ms. McBrayer and Ms. Young have been nominated according to our policies and procedures. At this time, we will vote in alphabetical order. All those in favor of Ms. McBrayer, raise your hand. And all those in favor of Ms. Young. That was 6 for Ms. McBrayer and 1 for Ms. Young. The next item is election of the board vice chair.
I'd like to nominate Brad Smith.
Any other nominations?
I'd like to nominate Katrina.
Have Mr. Smith and Ms. Young nominated. Any other nominations? Okay, at this time, all those in favor of Mr. Smith, raise your hand. 4-4. All those in favor of Ms. Young? And 3. Mr. Smith winning 4-3. At this time, I think Ms. McBrayer and I can switch chairs. I'm not going to try to look
You want me to wait?
No. I can stand on y'all tonight. Come sit, Mr. Barfield, up, please. Oh, Lance?
I got it. We might not be moving that on.
I'll give us a few seconds to settle before we begin. First on the agenda is recognizing visitors for comments. I would like to remind the people speaking that We would like to limit your conversation to 3 minutes. We would like for you to be civil and courteous at all times. Jean Yance.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Superintendent, distinguished members of the board, and audience guests. I had the distinct privilege of being asked to speak at Conyers Middle School today, and I want to let you know, and specifically, Mr. Superintendent, what an excellent job they have done of following the protocols and the strategic plan. As I walked into the building, they knew me. I walked in and I went to sign in as a guest, and the first thing they said was, "May we please have your picture identification?" I went, "Oh, I didn't bring it." And they went, "Yes, you will." So I had to go out and get my identification. They escorted me to the classrooms to which I was speaking at. The classroom was locked. They had to open the door to allow me in. And I want to tell you this because of the recent activities within our system, within the school system in general, nationwide. But I want to thank Mr. White particularly for following what the board has laid down as safety precautions. And I'd like to thank Dr. Brundage and his office for making sure that safety precautions are followed at all times. Because even though they knew who I was, they still required me to go through those steps. Secondly, I had the opportunity to speak to 2 8th grade class social study classes today. They were the most respectful students I have come in contact with. Their questions were extremely pertinent. They wanted to know all about the school board. They wanted to know how you got elected, what your specific duties were, and I wanted to share this quick little quip with you. They asked me how much money we make. And I said, "Well, we make $75 a meeting." And they went, "What?" And I said, "Yeah." And they went, "Wait a minute. You only make $75 a meeting?" I said, "If you attend the meeting. We make $150 a month before taxes." And then they said, "You make less than a teacher." And then they said, "But you're so much more important." And I said, "No, I am not. Nobody is more important than our educators in Rockdale County." It was a great experience. I was so thankful that they asked me, but most of all, I am so thankful that we have the educators in our community that follow policy and procedure and do the job that they were hired to do. Thank you very much.
Next, Renee Parker.
Hello, my name is Renee Parker. I would like to address an issue that we have with the transportation, the school bus system. The school bus has been coming to our subdivision for 4 years, picking our kids up in a well-lit area that we fought for to get a street light. We didn't have a street light. I have addressed this issue with the school district, and before something happens, I wanted to bring it to the school board so you would be aware of what's going on. On October the 25th, they changed our stop without notice. We didn't have anything in writing. The bus driver told one parent, and that parent was to relay this to the other 3 neighbors in the community. Right now, the bus is coming to an unlit wooded lot, and just on, I think it was 12/12 of last year, Rockdale County Sheriff Department had a massive manhunt right here in this wooded lot, and I emailed Mr. Budensick. Yes, I emailed him to let him know that it's unsafe for our kids to stand in this unlit wooded lot. He said that he was going to come out the first of the year, and he did on the 2nd of January. No one was aware that he was coming out, and he didn't come when the bus was running, so he wasn't able to see how dark it was and where the kids were standing. Right now, the kids are having to run. They asked that the kids stand in their driveway. So when the bus comes, she's passing one house and stopping in this dark, unlit area, and the kids are having to run up the street to catch the bus, only to have the bus come down about another 25 feet to this light stop, back up, and turn around. And all we're asking is if we could get our bus stop back where it was, where it has been for the past 4 years. I don't know why it was changed. We've never had an incident. There's no traffic coming in and out of the subdivision. And my other neighbors could not attend, who were also upset with it. They have pulled their kids off the bus and are bringing the kids to school simply because we're in an unlit area. One of the people there that works for the district suggests that we walk our kids out with flashlights. And we were insulted by the comment. When we have a light here and the bus is coming here every day, stopping under this light, bagging up, turning around, leaving, and we can't figure out why. And before something happens, I wanted to bring it to your attention because there's been dead animals and different things right here regularly. We don't know what's going on because we're inside, but we do see animal control coming out there, I would say quarterly, to pick up animals. And I wanted to bring this to your attention before something happens. And we're just upset that we didn't get any type of notice in writing. And when we addressed the problem in October, they finally put something in writing saying, oh, the bus stop had been changed. And this was November, around the 20th, right before the break, the Thanksgiving break. So I wanted to bring that to your attention before something really happened. And it's a very unsafe area where the kids are having to stand or run from their driveway to catch the bus when she's pulling down to this only street light we have, bagging up, turning around, leaving. So I wanted to bring that to the school board's attention, and Mr. Budensick has been notified. I've emailed him, but we still haven't resolved the issue.
Ms. Parker, thank you for your comments. I certainly will reevaluate the situation. I'll meet with Mr. Budensick and we'll certainly be in touch with you personally.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the superintendent cabinets updates and the superintendent remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Superintendent's cabinets updates will consist of Office of Teaching and Learning, Ms. Leslie DeMarco, Office of School Improvement, Mr. Eugene Baker, Office of Support Services, Dr. Garrett Rundage, Office of Operational Services, Mr. Phil Budensick, Office of Financial Services, Mr. Lee Davis, Office of Community Relations, Ms. Cindy Ball, and I'll conclude with my remarks. Mr. Marco.
Thank you. Good evening, Chairman McBrayer, Superintendent Autry, and members of the board and guests. I'm going to bring you just a couple of updates from the Office of Teaching and Learning this evening. The first one has to do with our Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, otherwise known as IDEA. And I wanted to report to the board that Rockdale County Public Schools has met 100% of federal compliance requirements that we are required to address under IDEA. As you can imagine, IDEA is a massive piece of federal legislation that regulates everything to do with students with disabilities. And there are many details to attend to, and it really takes meticulous work to ensure that we meet all of the requirements. The major portions of IDEA that we must address in terms of compliance indicators has to do with rates of suspension and expulsion for students with disabilities. We have to ensure that we have a proportionate representation of racial and ethnic groups in special education services and that no one group is overrepresented in those services. We certainly have to ensure that once a student is deemed to be eligible to receive those services, that we get the initial evaluations done in a timely manner to get them staffed in for services. We have to ensure many things regarding effective transitions for early education and post-secondary experiences. There's much data to enter, as you can imagine, and even if errors do occur, we are required to make timely and accurate corrections to that data. And certainly maintenance of effort in terms of funding is also part of those requirements. So I'm very proud of our Learning Support Department from the central office and all of the people in the schools, because it truly takes a team effort to make this happen, and sometimes the work can be a little tedious, but they do a fantastic job, and we have a tradition of having 100% compliance, and it's my pleasure to report to the board tonight that we continue that.
Leslie, if I may add, I may have missed it, and pardon me if I did, but IDEA, the acronym?
Individuals with Disabilities Education Act.
I just want to make sure, again, we're notorious in education for many acronyms, and certainly with the new board members and veteran board members, we will continue to try to make sure you're aware. I would like to mention, as Mr. Marco has said, you are aware of accountability, AYP, the different things we've talked about with performance indices now. But on top of that, our special education programs have additional federal requirements that Leslie mentioned, that is a second layer of accountability that, quite frankly, is much more rigorous and robust than even AYP was. So, again, accommodations to that staff and accommodations to that department for all that they do for those students with those special needs. So thank you, Leslie.
Thank you, Mr. Autry. The second portion of my update has to do with some collaborative meetings that are coming up this month with our principals. At the midpoint of the year, we conduct mid-year principal data briefings. This is directly aligned to our strategic plan, specifically Strategy 1 and Action Plan number 6. Addresses the cycle for results, and that's what these data briefings are intended to align with. So I'll give you just a few details about that so that you can understand this process. These mid-year data briefings are scheduled for the week of January 22nd, and we do spread the meetings out over the week because we meet individually with each and every principal at each and every school. Who is we? Meeting with the principal are all of the members of cabinet and some of their key leadership staff, directors, things like that. This is meant to be a cross-divisional collaboration with all of our schools between teaching and learning, school improvement, and support services primarily. The purpose of these meetings is to conduct a collaborative mid-year review of school, student, and staff performance, and so that we can adjust to determine necessary adjustments or modifications that we need to make as we go in to second semester. We do conduct these meetings initially at the beginning of the year, and we look back at the summative data or the evaluative data from the previous year and make plans going forward. So it's appropriate that we stop mid-year, take a fresh look at new data, and make any necessary adjustments. And that's really what the cycle is all about. During these mid-year review discussions, we'll usually start out with reviewing current student performance data. We have many sources of data that we look at and examine and analyze. We have just administered district-developed benchmark assessments in all content areas at elementary, middle, and high school. So we're certainly going to be looking at those results. We give formative or diagnostic writing assessments throughout the year, and so we'll be looking at those results. We give several reading-specific assessments at all levels, and certainly all of these assessments cover all of our content areas, all of our grade levels, and subgroup populations as well. So we look at lots of results and make some determinations about where we need to focus. And that's where the cycle for results comes in, and that's the graphic that is displayed. We're going to work with the principal. The principals will, and their staffs have already looked at their school data, so we're just sort of reviewing what they've begun to look at already and helping clarify and support that work. Our primary goal is to identify the concepts and skills that are needed for review, reteaching, remediation, or even enrichment at this point of the year. We are trying to develop student caseloads by standard, very focused ways that we help individual students. What did this student do? What are this student's needs, and how can we meet those needs? Certainly the principals and their staffs with our assistance and support have looked at implementation or adjustment of safety net programs like after-school tutorial programs or in-school. They're both in-school and after-school. Interventions aligned to standards and individualized by student. That's the key here, that this is a very customized process per student. And certainly we will discuss the ways that they will monitor the progress of those interventions even from this point beyond, so that we're sure to shore up any gaps that we continue to identify. So that's the primary purpose of the mid-year review, but we do also discuss some other things mid-year during these reviews. This is a good time for us to look at mid-year climate data, think about staff morale, how are things going, how are teachers feeling, how's the climate and temperature of the building, so to speak, and what are some areas where we might need to provide some support. What would be some personnel needs that may have arisen over the course of the year and that we might need to look specifically at this point in the year? Do the principals need HR assistance? Do teachers need professional development assistance? We also take this opportunity to review and analyze student behavior and discipline data, and to see how that might be impacting teaching and learning in the individual buildings. Lots of people from the central office are there to help and support these principals as we look at this data. We look at academic data, operational types of needs, student support needs, and certainly communications and community connections are always part of our discussion. So these are very robust discussions. They're very open. They're not presentations. They are a back and forth dialogue. And I think that we keep perfecting this process, but I did want to share with you because that is an important part of what will happen this month in terms of the cycle for results. And then my third and final topic for updating you is I wanted to talk with you for just a minute about our early learning programs in Rockdale County. Again, this is part of our strategic plan. This aligns specifically with strategy number 4, calling for supporting early learning in Rockdale County, particularly with funding sources and sustaining these programs. So as we think about the programs that we want to sustain going into this part of the year, I just wanted to point out some things about early learning that I thought would be important for you to know. First of all, early learning in Rockdale County is a sort of a unique approach in that it's a partnership between the public schools and then public and private entities, lots of different agencies, some which are listed on the screen right from the start is the Georgia Department of Early Care and Learning. They certainly are a strong partner of ours as we work with Georgia Pre-K. United Way is a strong supporter of early learning initiatives in Rockdale County, as is the Governor's Office for Children and Families. I guess the first purpose of a pre-K program is to ensure that students are ready for school. But really, the payoff of pre-K goes way beyond kindergarten readiness. There is a mountain of research that proves and demonstrates that having a quality pre-K experience pays huge dividends, which Mr. Autry will call it return on investment. And we certainly, pre-K students, we get a lot of return on the dollars that we put into early learning. Those students typically have higher success in school. They are retained less often. They are held back fewer times in grades. They are more likely to graduate. They generally attain higher levels of post-secondary education. So there's a huge payoff when we invest in early learning. Kindergarten readiness is really the first step. In Rockdale County, the early learning program covers a lot of services for students and their families. We have Georgia Pre-K classes in every one of our elementary schools. That's what you see in the middle of that graphic there. We also have a 3- and 4-year-old program at RCA called RCA Early Learning. This program particularly targets low to moderate income families, and quality early learning experiences have particular payoff for economically disadvantaged students. We also work with students from birth to 5. We're not going to wait until they come to our pre-K classes. We use our Parents as Teachers programs and reach out to parents to ensure that they're building the skills all along that those students will need to be successful in school. Kindergarten transition is a big part of our early learning program. We do kindergarten camps. We work with private providers to ensure that those students are ready to come to kindergarten and that their families are ready for the kindergarten experience. Some enrollment figures in our Parents as Teachers program right now, we're actually serving 116 of our students with parent educators and Parents as Teachers and working with those students' families. In the Early Learning Center at RCA, we're serving 92 students currently, 32 3-year-olds and 60 4-year-old students in a pre-K class. And as I said, we have a Georgia pre-K class in every school in our system, every elementary school, and we're serving 260 students. Good news, we just got awarded a grant from the Governor's Office for Children and Families. Sometimes you'll hear this referred to as the GOSEF grant. We just received just a little less than $139,000. This will fund our Parents as Educators program and also some of our kindergarten transition activities. It can pay personnel, technology, different services like transportation. We work with Prevent Child Abuse Rockdale to deliver the active parenting curriculum. So this is a very important grant to us and a grant we frankly depend on to be able to sustain those services. I do want to talk with you just for a moment about impact because all of what I just said is good information, but to me what I'm about to share, and I might, it might just be me, but this, what I'm about to share kind of gets me excited. We always are, it's great to know that national research says that pre-K pays off, but is that true in Rockdale? That's the best, most critical question to ask. We give a kindergarten readiness assessment, and starting last year, we decided to start giving a research-based assessment. Not that our one before was not, but this one is sort of a more robust assessment. It's called the Bracken, and it measures kindergarten readiness. At the end of the school year in May 2011, we administered this test to all of our pre-K students, and they scored a 90% rate of kindergarten readiness, which we thought was really good. We were very proud of that. Last May, when we administered the test to the second set of students, we did even better with a 97% rate of readiness. So, assuming that that test, which is pretty research-based, is accurate, that's a very high level of success coming out of our programs for 4-year-olds. But that's not all. When our kindergartners come to kindergarten, we start them out with a literacy test, an early literacy test, and they take that in August. So incoming kindergartners, all of them take the STAR early literacy test. When we administered this test this August, 85% of all of our kindergartners hit the district benchmark that basically says those students, if things go well, are on target to be reading on grade level by 3rd grade. That was all of them. Of all of our kindergartners, the students who had gone to the 4-year-old program at RCA, 87% of those students hit the benchmark. And of all those students, 90% of those students who went to a Georgia pre-K in Rockdale County schools showed that they were on the target for reading on grade level by 3rd grade. So I thought that was encouraging. We also look at recent data, looking at this year's 1st graders, and we just took a benchmark in ELA. So what this chart will show you is of all of our 1st graders this year who took the ELA 1st grade benchmark, 87% of them met standards. 86% of the students at the I'm going to say it so that I don't confuse you. Of this year's 1st graders, if those students had gone through the pre-K program at RCA, 86% of them met or exceeded standards. And of this year's 1st graders who had gone through Georgia pre-K programs in our schools, 90% of them met standards. And I want to point out one thing that I said earlier about the ELC program. Typically, the ELC program has a much higher rate of economically disadvantaged students than our general population because we target those populations. So for first grade math, among all of our first graders, 82% met the standard or exceeded the standard on our benchmark. For Georgia pre-K, for the first graders who were in Georgia pre-K, 84%. For the first graders who were at the ELC, 83%. And it gets better. This year, these are our current second graders. So overall, district-wide for ELA, on their benchmark, 85% of our second graders met or exceeded the standard. For those second graders who attended a Georgia pre-K, 92% met or exceeded the standard. And for these second graders who attended ELC at RCA, 96% met or exceeded the standard. In math, very similar result. And the next two slides excite me because, and they might excite you because they're the last two slides, but they excite me because we're talking now third grade and we're talking CRCT. And third grade performance is a predictor of many things, one being high school graduation. Students who are reading on grade level by third grade are significantly more likely to graduate high school on time and go on to post-secondary schooling. So, this was last spring. This is not a locally developed test. This is the state-required CRCT. Overall, all of our third graders did very well for Rockdale County. 93% met or exceeded the standard. Of those students who attended one of our Rockdale County schools' Georgia pre-K classes, 100% of those students met or exceeded the standard on the third grade CRCT in reading. And I thought that was fantastic. And then for math, they did very well as well. District-wide, 88% of our third graders met or exceeded the standard on the CRCT. 99% of our students who were in a Georgia pre-K met or exceeded the standard. So I share this with you to say thank you for your investment in early learning. Thank you to the board. This takes some commitment from all of us, and I wanted you to know that your belief and your commitment to early learning in Rockdale County is paying off for these students. So if you have questions, I'll take them.
I do. When you were referring to RCA's early learning program, is it the same early learning program that's in the schools as well? Or?
That's a good question, and the answer is not really. Yes, in that they are all part of Rockdale County Public Schools. The pre-K programs that are in our elementary schools are supported, sponsored, governed under the auspices of Georgia Department of Early Care and Learning. That's the Georgia pre-K. Those are the lottery-funded pre-Ks that you hear about. The program at RCA is not a Georgia pre-K program. We do run that program. It has very similar components to Georgia pre-K, but it's not lottery supported. And that's what I said. For that program in particular, Ms. Young, we really depend on our partnerships to support that because it is not funded by the Georgia Lottery.
Can I ask a question?
It is, by the way, NACE accredited, which is a pretty big deal. Yes, ma'am.
How is children chosen at the Rockdale Career Academy?
They are chosen by lottery for one, but they do have to have some qualifications, and there is an income qualification, and there is a preferred service for those students who are economically disadvantaged. But there are more of them than we can serve, so once we identify those students who meet those eligibility requirements, then we do a lottery drawing. Other questions? Well, I thank you for indulging me.
Thank you, Mr. Marco. Mr. Baker.
Mr. Superintendent, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I have a
couple of updates this evening and an action item that I need to discuss. First, though, starting with the good news, I will talk about a couple of happy occurrences that have happened here in Rockdale. First, the Georgia State Science Fair coordinator notified the 21 regional science fairs here in the state of Georgia of how their fairs ranked by student projects. And when that was announced, we discovered that the Rockdale County Fair, which, as you know, we've reported in the past and is a fairly new fair, ranked #1 in the entire state. We had an average high school student project score of 87 out of 100. That was the highest in the state of Georgia. Our middle school student projects averaged 2.97, and that's on a scale of 5, which was the 5th in the state of Georgia. And our fair is 3 years old, so this is, considering the size of the district, extremely good news for us. Second quick update is that we were notified Tuesday, that we had a school which was eligible for the Advanced Placement STEM Access Grant. And STEM, as you have heard us talk about before, stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. This is an access grant. It is a grant which is being funded by College Board in partnership with Google and Donors Choose. The funding is to fund advanced placement STEM training and materials. To qualify, the school had to have academically prepared students from underrepresented populations. And here in the state of Georgia, College Board identified 31 schools. Rockdale County High School was one of those which has been invited to apply for the grant. And we talked to the state and we feel very sure that we'll be able to receive that grant for Rockdale County High School. And although I did not put it on my table of contents, I did get this today. The superintendent, as you know, told you that we have been named an AP Honor District by the College Board. And if you remember, that made Rockdale one of 539 districts in all of North America to receive that honor for increasing advanced placement courses and opportunities for students while increasing the success in those courses. That is, increasing the scores of 3, 4, and 5 for those students taking it. And so we received a poster, actually a number of these posters, and this one is going to be hung here in the boardroom, so we wanted to show that to the board. And we're extremely proud. We did a calculation, and that placed us in the top 3% of all school districts in North America. So,
Mr. Baker, if you would, please describe, as an old AP teacher, please describe College Board and its independent nature. It's an independent agency,
completely.
And that's who acknowledges.
It is a completely independent organization. As you know, it is also responsible for assessments like the Scholastic Aptitude Test, the SAT. Advanced placement courses in particular are the most rigorous courses you can take in a high school. College Board advanced placement courses are modeled on the curriculum of the top 200 universities and colleges in the United States, and the scores of 3, 4, and 5 model a student making the equivalent of an A, B, or C at one of the top 200 universities, at Harvard, Yale, and MIT in the United States, but in our schools. So for our students, we have more students than ever. As you know, double-digit number of students increasing year to year taking advanced placement courses in Rockdale, and we have an increased number of students who are performing at higher levels. And of course, one of the side benefits of that is the majority of universities and colleges in the United States give a student college credit for a course in which they've scored a 3, 4, or 5. I think there's an exception. Harvard is kind of particular about it. They don't take any 3, 4s, or 5s, but they don't require you to take the course. The College Board is extremely independent.
Thank you.
From there, I wanted to move into the action item that you will have later on your agenda, and it is about our student information system. And this is a very complex, software issue, and so I wanted to give you some background. What is a student information system? Why is it important? A student information system, first, is the single most important piece of software in a school system. It is the software database that contains all the past and current information concerning a student. And it serves many functions and interacts with many other systems in the district, but I wanted to give you some of the major functions that I thought everyone could relate to. First, it is a repository of student information. It is also the repository of student schedules and the software that actually helps and assists the staff in constructing those schedules. It is also where grades are kept and transferred. This is also where transcripts are printed from, which obviously is a very important function. It is where we keep our discipline records, our attendance records, and also student information systems, at least the better, more modern student information systems, automate many of those processes, like generating attendance letters. It is where we keep all of our information about special programs. You heard a report concerning some of our special programs and the data and the importance of that data being correct. This is a repository for that information and how it was reported up to the state. This is where we keep all of our family information and family contacts, siblings, that sort. And last but very important, this is the software that is used for reporting back to the state. This is how we earn our money, our FTEs. This is how we report information up. So student information systems in and of themselves are critical to the operation of the school system. Here in Rockdale, as all districts in the state, we have a 3-year technology plan. Technology plans are required by the Department of Education, and in fact, we have to report it up. Ours is about 1.5 years old. The technology plan is organized into 5 major functional areas, and ours has 25 goals. One of those functional areas is the data collection, goals, and strategies, and there's 4 goals in that functional area. Goal 3 is really the one that we're going to be talking about this evening, and I've quoted from it. Goal 3 was to provide an ongoing review, evaluation, and recommendations for improving the current student information system. So we have, for the last 1.5 years, been conducting that ongoing review. The group of individuals doing that have consisted of our technology staff, other district staff, like curriculum and instruction, student support, all of those at the district level, and school personnel, both teachers and support staff. During this process, we've identified weaks and strengths of our current student information system, as well as compared our student information system to those of other districts in the state of Georgia and of other vendors from out of state and in the state that might have something new or better to offer. From that, it was determined that we needed to change. Well, why would we want to change? First, we identified software problems that cannot be fixed, or they cannot be fixed in a timely manner. Often, our response, or the response of the vendor we worked with, is because of these lack of capabilities, we have to do workarounds. And those workarounds take more human hours and time in order for us to function. A number of processes ended up being done manually, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But it requires more resources. It also becomes difficult to produce accurate data for our state reporting. And again, this is how we get the funding for the school system that comes from the state. Finally, the current student information system does not meet our scheduling needs. We do a lot of hand scheduling here in Rockdale because of the weakness of our current student information system. As we move forward with the strategic plan and expand opportunities like the Career Academy and Open Campus, our current software will not automate that process. So we have to do it. But finally, why change? Because as we went through this process over 1.5 years, we discovered there are quite a few better software solutions and alternatives out there. Once that decision was made, we went through the formal process that we do here by policy in Rockdale County. We reviewed the major student information systems available here in Georgia, and it was already involved in state reporting. We also reviewed the newest offerings of student information systems. And finally, we developed, over a period of time in the spring and the summer, a request for proposals, an RFP, so that we could actually go through the formal process of review. The request for proposal was released on September 4th. We received back 5 proposals from vendors. It is important to note that although we ensured our current vendor was aware of this, that they chose not to submit a RFP response. 2 of those were then selected. We went through all 5, looking at all of their responses and their proposals, and ranked those in the technology department, looking at the technical aspects. The top 2 from that were a program called Aspen and a program called Infinite Campus. From there, those 2 vendors were invited to come in and demonstrate their product before a review committee. Those demonstrations took place on November 14th and 15th of the last year. The review committee is fairly unique here at Rockdale. It consisted of 55 Rockdale personnel. I'm not going to go through the entire list, but of 55 individuals that were involved, 42 of them were from the school. And you'll see the biggest group there are our teachers, because they are the individuals that use the student information system every day, multiple times a day. And so we had to get all of our users to look at the functionality of this software. The result of that was the summary that you see here. You see all 5 of the respondees on the left-hand side. You see the technical scores, and as you notice, the top 2 technical scores that were provided. You see 2 groups that say demo. Of the 55 individuals, some of those individuals stayed the entire day and were giving an overall score. And well over half those individuals were coming in specifically to look at certain functionalities. The ability to schedule, the ability to maintain discipline data and attendance data, the use in assessment, the use in advisement with students, and the software's ability to support parent communication. Finally, on the far right, you see the cost. One quick note that you'll notice at the bottom. We always have to pay attention to the unknown, and one of those is disasters and our ability to recover our student information in case of a disaster. The Infinite Campus response included both the equipment and software to go through disaster recovery. Additional benefits that were noted: 78 districts in the state of Georgia use Infinite Campus. That has an impact on our ability to exchange information, but also as far as the support network here in the state and support that we receive from the state as far as state reporting and the software, working with other software that we have. Infinite Campus also includes an advanced parent communication component, and I'll touch on that here shortly. But more than anything else, it supports and provides the infrastructure for many of the strategic plan initiatives that we have in our new strategic plan. I mentioned parent communication. What I've done is provide a screenshot of 2 of those parent communication tools that come as part of this student information system. First is a parent portal where parents can access grades, school calendars, receive notifications and messages. There are real-time updates. These are not done overnight. They can get their schedule. So it is accessing the student's record for the parent real time. Also, though, and very importantly in this mobile age, is that Infinite Campus, unlike the others, provides a mobile application for our Droids and iPads, or Apples, excuse me. And so parents can have that information on the go. You will also note this is directly tied to one of our action plans in the strategic plan. This is one of the things that was that is directed in one of our goals from the strategic plan. I also wanted to give you some screenshots of another part of the software that is particularly of importance to us, and that is scheduling. Scheduling is one of the biggest issues that we have in running a master schedule in particular. As we have moved forward in innovation in this district, we've stretched our infrastructure, and we're really out there on the cutting edge. That requires a very flexible scheduling and very strong scheduling capability. Infinite Campus was able to demonstrate that to us, that it would be easy for the user. At the same time, it would allow a student to have classes on multiple campuses and us still produce one report card for the parent, do one set of state reporting, not have data duplicated or grades corrupted. And that's not a capability that we have now. We have to do that manually. It also, if you'll notice on the bottom, has a graduation plan. And again, both of these are tied to our strategic plan, but the graduation plan directly supports the part of the strategic plan which directs that we facilitate a high school advisement program. So this is part of keeping students on track and the ability for a teacher or the advisor to be able to access that information at any time to meet and talk with the student. The last, and again, I'm not exhausting at all the number of screens that are involved and the capabilities of this software, but the part and core of any student information system is having that student information available, being able to identify it, have it correct, have it accessible. And so Infinite Campus not only meets that, but because of the large user base here in the state of Georgia, being the largest user base, it has a very unique capability that none of the other softwares have. And that is that we literally can, if a student enrolls today, within 24 hours, we can have their electronic data. And our staff does not have to hand enter it, which is what we do now, but instead it can be transferred over. And we can bring both their test scores as well as their family information and their pertinent information. It also assists us greatly in the ability to go ahead and create a correct schedule for that student very quickly and get them back in school, back into the academic process, as opposed to waiting for information to arrive. With that,
Mr. Baker, right offhand, how many registrars were involved in this process?
all the high school registrars serve all the middle school, school max users, which are not Title III, but all were there. Yes, sir.
Does it have capabilities to deal with the reporting mechanisms for the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act and our special ed requirements?
It would not allow, we would not be able to eliminate the IEP software that we use, but it does work with the software that we have, and it does keep the information for all of our special programs. It has fields for those.
Does it have the capabilities with the scheduling capabilities?
Yes, sir.
I do hear from some of the teachers sometimes, especially special ed teachers, that sometimes especially capability more has to do with RCA and the interfacing with our individual high schools and how we have to.
And that is one of the weaknesses that this specifically addressed. In fact, the only two that we demonstrated were the 2 of the 5 that had the technical ability to provide us with the scheduling capability we need. For those who don't know, in the past, the reason we've done this by hand is we literally, in order for us to run the unique schedule that we use across our high schools, and particularly RCA, the Career Academy, and which, by the way, makes it the model for the state of Georgia that is continually visited. We run, right now, 2 different sets of schedules, and we have to enter those separately. So teachers are literally entering multiple times for the same student, or you're going back by hand to do it the old way that it was done 30, 40 years ago. This software actually automates that. It is student-centric, not location-centric. So the schedule will follow the student. We could have a student in 6 different places in this district, which is part of our vision. And they would get one report card, one schedule. Parents going in would see one schedule, as opposed to having to figure out, well, which site is my child supposed to be on today.
So even the virtual campus courses,
absolutely,
the child's enrolled and set up, and it's all integrated.
Which right now is again another separate scheduling for us. Yes, ma'am.
Will you be able to integrate the standard-based report card?
Yes, ma'am. Excellent question. It is one that we went extensively. In fact, that was one of the important aspects to us because of the parent communication. This parent communication, quite frankly, I think is going to blow some people's socks off. It is really excellent, and it speaks directly to what we've got in the strategic plan, where we're trying to go. But yes, it does already support standards-based reporting, without what we've had to do with our old vendor, which was major modifications and again, a lot of workarounds to get there.
Will it convert for the students that are graduating back to the traditional work hard for the schools? You know, for them to get
Will
in
it go?
colleges or,
I'm not sure.
you know, for the ABCs that the colleges look there. for
It will do
the-
what we're doing now as far as we will still be producing the GPA, so that, which is what we have set up right now for our high school and middle school standard base. We understood as that happened, Mr. Marco worked at this along with Mr. Autry in his old role to ensure that we not only had standards-based reporting, but we also lived in the real world, that there were a lot of people that weren't that cutting edge, quite frankly, and so needed the older system, and so we get both. We get a GPA and colleges are able to recognize it.
A couple more questions. Who was the old vendor?
School Max, the company is Harris currently. Prior to that, it's actually been sold a couple of times. And we've been with this, we were with this software group owned by different companies since the 90s.
And so has that contract ended, or do we have to get out of that contract? It ended?
It will look into years.
So we're gonna overlap then?
We'll go through a conversion
Okay.
time and transition, but we won't be running two systems. Other than the transition, we have to get all of our data and student information moved before the end of the contract, and we'll be able to do that and convert it. Yes, ma'am.
Will there be a student portal similar to the parent, so the student can get in and like the planning and scheduling, where like, and get rid of Edmodo and when the parent or the student?
They have not rolled that out, but it is one of the things we discussed with them, and this vendor is working in that direction, but we did not find anyone that had the integrated student information system that also had it. However, you can have the student have access to the parent portal, obviously, campus
It's
portal.
so helpful for them to, like, what colleges do, they plan out their schedule for the next several
Yes.
years and the teacher posted.
Our strategic plan calls for that for students and parents, as well as electronic portfolio, and we also discussed that with the vendor, because that is also part of what we want. We want your entire academic record right there where it's portable.
And I will give you Cindy can too, although I had no voting in this operation, I didn't even sit in, I took the recommendation of the committee. But my daughter is also on the student information system with Infinite Campus. And I can pull, Cindy's children are too, I can pull right now what she made on her homework grade, her test grade today. I can know whether she's late to class, and I can send her a message, get to class. So again, for me, what it does is provides our parents, and this is what I've heard from our parents, give me more information so I can respond. I cannot help you if I don't have the necessary information. So now, whether it's a smartphone or whether it's a computer, parents will have real-time access to be able to have those types of communications with their children, but also with the teachers as well. So we're very excited about it, and it certainly fits in with the customization piece that we laid out with regards to the vision. So thank you, Gene, very much for that thorough report. Any more questions, Mr. Baker? Dr. Brundage, Office of Support Services.
Good evening, Chairman McBride, Superintendent Autry, members of the board and guests. I'd like to provide you with some updates from my division in terms of school safety. You all know we've had a couple of difficult months in terms of crisis and crisis events, tragedy, and crisis management. One that has impacted the nation, of course, tragedy in Newtown, Connecticut, and most recently, 2 days ago, here locally. So the information that I'm going to provide you with is timely, but I would like to tell you that, you know, when situations happen like this, we respond immediately. You know, and one of the things that have allowed us to be able to respond immediately plans already. We have a school safety plan in place already. And before I get into this slide, just to give you a little bit of information about our response to the Connecticut incident. As soon as we found out that information, we got together, we communicated as a cabinet and decided what needed to happen in response to that. And it seems like a little far away, and it seems like it's somebody else's problem. However, there is the potential for copycats. So we have to be responsible for the safety of our kids here in Rockdale. So we decided to respond and have our principals or give them instructions on how they should conduct themselves for the next 2 days. That happened on Friday, and we had 2 more days of school left. So we had to respond fast to give them information on how they should conduct themselves for the next 2 days. We placed them on high alert. We asked them to, or we directed them to place their faculties on high alert. And that means being aware of your surroundings, being aware of the people that are coming into your buildings, making sure that everybody takes part in ensuring that the outer doors are secure. Being aware of the people that are coming in and making sure that they're going to the appropriate place, straight to the front office. And when I get deeper into the presentation, I'll talk to you about some of the things that we've done with other agencies. But we made sure that we respond immediately to these situations, whether they're here locally or they're far away somewhere else in the country. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the school safety plan. Having a school safety plan is part of Georgia law. School systems and schools have to have that safety plan on file. All 22 of our schools have a safety plan that's individualized for their particular location. However, it really is one template. So there's one template for the entire, for the district, but each particular school places their site-based information into that plan. In other words, the safety team would be different. It will be specific to that particular school. Our safety plan complies with the Georgia Department of Education. It actually goes beyond, a step beyond what they require. I said there were site-based plans. The individuals that we place in those plans, they are part of the school safety team. We submit these plans each year to the Georgia Emergency Management Agency, which is the Georgia Division of Homeland Security. And that particular agency approves our plans every year. And every year since I've been in this position, those plans have been approved without incident and without any recommendations for improvement. We also have flip charts. I just wanted to show you one of our flip charts. These flip charts are in each of our classrooms. There's one that's specific for teachers to give them information on how they should respond in case of an emergency. There's one that's specific for administrators to let them know how they should respond in terms of emergencies. And there's one for after hours. We also have these for our bus drivers as well. They give you information on step-by-step what you need to do, or give you information on what you need to do. It's not really a checklist. It's not really a step-by-step. Some of those things may happen simultaneously in the event of an emergency. So if a teacher or an administrator were rattled during an emergency, they'll have that at their fingertips, and they can just flip through it and know exactly what to do. National Incident Management System, that is an online training that's available for all. It's actually available for first responders, but there's one course in there that's specific for educators. And what it does is it allows us to understand, well, first of all, it goes through scenarios, emergency situations, and it allows us as educators to understand what's going to happen when those first responders come on our scene, who takes charge, and what we're responsible for from that point moving forward. And I'd like to say that all of our, 100% of our administrators have been trained on this NIMS, National Incident Management System. We have solicited the services of GEMA. I mentioned to you that this agency is the Georgia Division of Homeland Security. They approve our safety plans, but they've also provided training for us in terms of safety assessments at each of our buildings. So we allow an outside agency to come in with a different set of eyes, take a look at our campus from the border all the way up to the innermost parts of the building to determine what are the safety risks that are there or that are evident on our campus. And they provided us with recommendations at that time in 2009, and we have addressed those recommendations, most of which dealt with access control and ensuring that our teachers, our administrators, and other staff secure those doors, because they were concerned about the number of doors that we have on each of our campuses. The Georgia Department of Education, we've been in consultation with them. They have agreed to conduct a different type of safety assessment on each of our campuses, and I think it is fitting with everything that has happened in the past 30 days for them to come in as a different agency, a different state agency, and provide us with that service, and then provide us with a written report so that we can respond to any of their recommendations that they make. And we will be doing that over the next 2 months. After the Newtown incident, we did meet with the Sheriff's Department. I said it's always good to reflect. We think that we have a great plan. We think we have great response, but it's good to reflect on the things that have happened, what we have in place, and what needs to happen to improve moving forward. There's always room for improvement. So we met with the Sheriff's Department, the new sheriff, and his chief deputy, and we discussed some of those things, how we can partner up, how they can help us, and how we can help them. Mostly how they can help us. But in particular, you all know that we have school resource officers in our middle and high schools, in each of our middle and high schools. And those same resource officers have an assignment for several elementary schools. But most of their time, they only go to those elementary schools when there's an emergency, okay? But we want to change that. We saw that the need for a change there. So what we suggested to the sheriff and his chief is that we have frequent patrols from law enforcement on each of our elementary campuses, and they're very open and accommodating to that. There's also consideration given to those SROs that are assigned to the middle and high school, have them to go by our elementary schools, visit our elementary schools, since they start a little bit earlier than everybody else, early in the morning on their way to their assignment to the middle and high schools. Just as a reminder, we earned a grant several years ago that was $229,000, and it allowed us to be able to hire a consultant. So this is just a little bit of background on how we got to the point where we are today with our school safety plans. We hired a consultant to review our plans. That consultant made recommendations and helped us enhance the plan that we had. And the evidence is what you see today with the flip charts and that universal template that everybody uses at each of our schools. But then it provided us with training as well. They also taught us how to do the individual safety assessment for each individual building. We also have another grant that's still active. We are in our 4th year of the Safe Schools, Healthy Students grant. You all know that it was a $4.5 million grant over the course of 4 years. We're in the 4th year. We do have an additional year, which is next year. We'll spend the remainder of the monies. But I thought it was fitting to show you this because there's something very important here. These are the 5 tenets, so to speak, that we follow as far as the Safe Schools, Healthy Students grant is concerned. And we have to abide by these due to Fed's regulations on us. But I wanted to point out that 3 of these have to do with some of the things that have happened to us here recently. We focus on preventing violence with this grant. We focus on protecting from bullying and threats, okay? But something that has been in the news, and I have it highlighted here, that has been a result of the Newtown incident is the mental health aspect. And it's big in the news now. This is something that we've been doing for the last 3 or 4 years. We've been focusing on mental health of our students. And we've been conducting those screenings of those students that need this service. It's not that they have a problem, but they need this service, and we provide this service. And I just thought it was fitting to let you know that up to date, since 3 years ago, we have served 352 students because of this particular grant. I wanted to show you some of the safety initiatives that we have going on. I've mentioned several of them already, but we have safety scenarios for our principals every single month at our principal meetings. And those scenarios may be weather related, they may be student related, it may be something dealing with bullying. But what those principals do is they have dialogue with each other, and they talk about what steps need to be taken in order to find a resolution to that situation. And once they do that, we provide them with the steps outlined in their flip chart to show them exactly what they need to do. But those principals, when they're comfortable with that, they take it back to their faculties, and they do the same scenario and make sure their faculties are familiar, or their staff is familiar with what needs to be done in the emergency situation. Our employees, I already talked about this one, are attentive of their surroundings and aware of visitors in their building. Visitors are directed to the office. You heard Ms. Young say they asked for her visitor's badge. Even when I walk into a school and I don't have my badge, as a school safety person, they're still asking me, where's my badge? So I'm pretty proud of the principals for transferring that message to their staffs to do the right thing and not be afraid to ask visitors for what's appropriate. We're researching other forms of access control, buzz-in systems, keypad systems. Fencing may be something that we consider, but I wanted you to know that we were in conversations as a cabinet to explore other forms of access control due to some of the things that are happening in our country and in our state. We're also researching enhancements to the camera system. I mentioned mental health again here in your bottom box, bottom left. It's very important here. I mentioned sustainability efforts here. We are in the 4th year of the grant. Next year, no cost extension year, which means next year will be paid for. But I think it's very important that we find a way to sustain providing mental health for those particular students who need it. We're discussing with law enforcement and first responders the possibility of being involved in active drill with them so that we not only go through the NIMS course and understand what everybody's supposed to do, but actually be there and see it live in person. And simulated I also want to talk to you about crisis management. And this one is a little bit more close to home. You know, our hearts are heavy right now, and mine is too. I apologize. The goal of crisis response is to assist schools when they have a crisis event in order to maintain some type of order and control, but also to provide service to those who have been impacted. So I wanted to let you know that we have 3 teams of crisis responders, or crisis response team. We call them CRT. Okay. So what happened with our crisis response team, the counselors, psychologists, and social workers, and if needed, the prevention and intervention specialists, is when a crisis occurs, we make a call to their leader, who is Ms. April Fallon, and Ms. April Fallon will decide which one of those teams she calls. It could be team A, B, or C, or any combination, depending on the need. All responders receive annual crisis training, and there's a lead who directs each of those individuals in crisis. So there's a leader there. I did want to show you this, and it outlines what happens when a crisis occurs. It also outlines the roles of those people that I just talked to you about. But I do want to go through when a crisis occurs. A team is selected from the call tree that I talked about, and then we employ those people to go out to those particular locations. Those after they get their assignment and after they get there, the leader of that particular team gets accurate or factual information from the principal that's there. Or it may be us that have the factual information, and we provide that for that team member. And that team member, for quality control, has a crisis checklist that they go by, so they make sure that they don't miss anybody who is in need of a particular service. I would like to mention this in the crisis that happened. I won't get into too many details, but the crisis that happened in our community impacted several schools here. Even though the students that we lost were from one school, it impacted several schools. So most of our resources serviced that particular school. So 20 of our CRT team went to that particular school, hiding all of the emotions that they may have felt, and on the spot provided services and support to those teachers and those students. They also stayed there for the whole day, for as long as anybody on staff needed them. And at the end of the day, they were there for the faculty meeting. When the students all left, they were there for additional support for those particular faculty members. 3 members of my staff, Ms. April Fallon, Ms. Teresa Hearn, and Dr. Susan Chapman, actually felt for these students who were in that neighborhood so much that they got on the bus and rode the bus to the neighborhood to ensure that those students not only got on the bus and got home safely, but they called ahead and made sure that their parents met them at that bus stop. So, Superintendent, that concludes my updates.
In addition to weather-related emergency drills that I'm sure the elementary schools have, is there now drills for a lockdown? Like you just heard so much from in a closet that save lives. And I can imagine a lot of elementary school kids. Is there drills for anything like that? That if we're ever on lockdown, we're going to do to have a plan.
We do have frequent lockdowns. I will tell you that I think that they're more frequent at the middle and high schools But we do have frequent lockdowns at the elementary schools, and those particular teachers guide their students accordingly.
Let me comment, because that was a question we had, the same question we had at the Superintendent's Advisory Council. We do evacuations, reverse evacuations, all that at multiple levels. And Gary's probably right, we do a little bit more of a lockdown at the secondary, but we do it at elementary. But what we haven't done, even when I was a principal or even to this day, we haven't necessarily said that there's a shooter in the building, a drill like that, and we need to get into the closet. I think that's something we need to kind of review and evaluate. You don't want to traumatize children, but you also want to make sure that they're prepared in the event that these types of things happen. So we have to look at how we do our lockdowns. Our teachers are well versed in knowing how to do reverse evacuations and lockdowns, and our kids, you know, generally we try to let the day or the classroom continue as normal. But that's something I think we probably need to continue to discuss. We need to continue to seek advisement from law enforcement too. One of the things I also mentioned too, you know, there's a difference between reacting and responding. And you heard Gary, responding is when you have a plan moving into it. Reacting is just doing it because something has happened. And so I'm very appreciative of the plans that we have that kind of direct our work here. And I've mentioned to you before when I was CAO, those of you that are new to the board, but I've always talked about teaching and learning being our #1 priority. Well, teaching and learning is our main function, but our #1 priority that our parents entrust us with is their most precious commodity, their children. The #1 thing we have to do is make sure our students and our staff and parents and faculties are safe. So I certainly want to put things in priority order, and Garrett is right, it does make you reflect a bit when these situations happen. But we want to make sure that when those students are dropped off at our schools, that is their safe haven, and that we are there to protect them. But do we continue to need to work collaboratively with law enforcement, with GEMA, with FEMA possibly? Absolutely, to make sure we're as tight as we can be in the event situations happen. I mentioned some of these things you can't predict and you can't foresee, but you can do the best that you can with what you know, and that's what we try to do. Garrett, I would like to publicly commend April and your crisis teams. I hope you never have the opportunity to see them work, social workers and counselors in Garrett's department work in those times, but if you do, and when you see emotions of young people, and you see emotions of adults, parents, community members, when you see what they do, you will know the value that they provide to this district and this community. So I do want to thank you and your staffs with the way we responded to this tragedy in our community. Thank you, Gary.
I would like to ask
Sure.
a question. At some of the precincts, the voting precincts that are in the elementary schools, not my precinct is in an elementary school, and it's wide open on voting day.
Right. And we've worked a number of different ways to try to work with folks in charge of elections, the Board of Elections, but again, our buildings are supported by taxpayer dollars, and when they're needed for things such as that for civic service, we're obligated. But what we've tried to do is adjust our calendar, particularly on major elections, Sharon, to either have a professional development day or have a staff holiday or student holiday. We've tried to eliminate that. We did that with this presidential election. But some of the lesser primaries and things of that nature, we just can't do that every single year. But we do acknowledge it. Generally, we try to have a point person who is up at the front entrance, but I can't tell you that that's one of our most anxious days, is when we have so many strangers in our building, and I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. We're all community, but we don't know, and we don't ID people coming through those doors interacting with children. So that is continues to be a concern that we need to have some collaboration with the county and the city on as well. But I can't tell you that that is one of our safest areas. Thank you. Thanks, Gary. Mr. Bootsy.
Good evening, Superintendent Autry, Chairman McBrayer. As soon as we have our pictures up, we're going to take you a short tour through our three main projects that are going. I would like to let you know that, here we go, RCA. Now we are 99% plus completed here. In fact, they are using this facility at this point in time for the most of it. And so I'm going to just give you a couple quick shots. I'm going to go through. Here's one of 4 science labs we have in there. This is a 40,000 square foot addition. As you know, it's done with SPLOST funds and also a grant through our colleges that we work with. On just this classroom, just some things that have happened since we last spoke, or last year, last month. Rockdale County High School, here also 99% plus complete. We're just doing punch out on both of these projects. And that's our last aerial view. I still haven't gotten that helicopter yet, but maybe on the Shoal Creek project. But very proud of that and very happy that we've got it where it is. And the punch out crew in support of Rockdale County High School with things that Dr. Brenda shared are working on punch out after students leave campus as far as classes go, and trying to keep that under good security. Here's just some shots we've taken since last time we all met. Shot between a view from the gym back to the field house there. This is the what used to be the front of the old gym. This is the new lobby area, and there's a reception area. The shot of the science labs we have there. Classroom, we have 17 classrooms, 2 science labs, plus a work area in that space. And here's the Shoal Creek edition. We are excited about this project's rolling. We're ahead of schedule, and we will have it ready for when school starts in July, August. And we're very happy with how that's progressing. Here's the exterior walls going up, border walls inside. Here's where the mechanical things will go on top above the walkway. The roof did work for the HVAC, and that just catches us up on this project. We're continuing to work with adding the controls for HVAC and lights. When you walk in the room, they come on when you step out. After so many minutes, they go off. We're got 6 schools completed now, so we're still rocking with that particular project, and very excited about it. And we'll be sharing some upcoming projects with you for the summer painting in the next few weeks as those get posted and bids come through. Questions?
Mr. Bootsy, I do think that Shoal Creek edition, Mr. Davis, also has included 2 science labs at the elementary level. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So that will make 3 science labs for that particular school. Mr. Davis.
Good evening, Chairman McBrayer, Superintendent Autry, members of the board. The Office of Financial Services has 2 reports for you tonight. The first one is our, if Ms. Paul, please call up the preliminary general fund report. And we will give you the final general fund report next week. Is that the first page or second page? Okay, sorry. You should have had the balance sheet first. Okay, revenue and expense report. I will redirect. We are 50% of the year complete. Revenue, we've received $77,661,000. That is 62.96% of our budget. You'll notice, as I mentioned previously, the property taxes, we have the deadline in November, so we see the big spike in December when we receive. It's like a bell curve. We'll see the revenue begin to reduce as the year goes on, and we do anticipate we will receive everything we budget. On the expenditure side, we are at 49.84%, which is good. We do anticipate being within budget at year end. You'll notice last year at this time we were slightly above. We were at 50.08, so this is a good thing. And total expenditures year to date, $62,515,000. Again, we'll give you the final financial report next week, but are there any questions? Okay, let's look at the balance sheet real quick. I mentioned last month that we did pay off the tax anticipation note early. You'll notice it is no longer there. Total assets, $31,181,000. Total fund liability, fund equity, and total liabilities, corresponding. And we did pay off our $8.5 million tax anticipation note, so that was a positive. We were able to pay it off on, I think last month I said I thought it was December 5th. It actually was December 7th, which should have been easy for me to remember. Any questions? Okay, let's look at the the monthly grant report. You see the activity of Ms. Knudsen. We've had a couple of people reference different grants, so again, I can't say enough about the work that Ms. Knudsen, in collaboration with Cabinet and with people, various departments under Cabinet, that we've seen, really, it's meant a lot to us on being able to do things that we otherwise may not have been able to do. First 2 pages, you see what she's been doing with her grant activity. I think we did mention last month. Unfortunately, we did not get the $29,900,000, but I heard Rich talking at the advisory committee this week. We don't know if it was better to come close and not get it, or just play like Notre Dame and get embarrassed. So, we're not sure, but again, we do a lot of really good work in this, and we're going to continue to try and get every grant opportunity we can. And then the final 2 pages are the cumulative over the last 5-6 years that Ms. Knudsen's been able to get. Again, in conjunction, we see that's in excess of $6.5 million. These often are for specific projects, specific type expenditures. Any questions about the grant report? This is our routine grants. Thank you very much.
Ms. Ball.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Superintendent, board members, and our dwindling crowd. As you know, we spent most of the time since the last board meeting out of school on a holiday break, so I don't have a whole lot of student stories to share with you, so I'll kind of do something a little bit different, and I'll begin, well, of course, with our newspaper media since we last met. But I want to kind of update you a little bit about what my department is working on. Marketing and communication. You know, our superintendent talks about marketing a lot, and he talks about how we have to tell our story, we have to tell it accurately. We have to make sure that people understand the good things that are happening in our school system. And there are many, many ways to do that. And one of the things that we're working on currently, which is in our current strategic plan, Strategy 6, is a written comprehensive marketing plan. So that's something we are working on. New things that we've added, the superintendent and I have been working on this year, is a superintendent's video connection. That's actually a monthly message to all employees. We put that out on our intranet site for employees only, and it is a direct video message so that all employees can see the superintendent talking to them. It's very difficult with an organization as large as we have to get to every site, you know, at all the time and spread the message, but with technology and things that we are able to do these days, video connection has been very well received. We have a lot of employees who say, you know what, thank you. It really helps to be able to see the superintendent talking to me, talking to all employees. It's very difficult for us to get all nearly 2,500 employees together at one time, so this is a very helpful tool. Superintendent's letter of commendation. I'm going to talk about this a little bit later, but this is another new communication tool, but it's also an appreciation tool. And again, I'm going to talk about that in just a few slides. Seeing is Believing bus tour. This is something that we actually tried a few years ago. But we did it in conjunction with the Chamber Education Committee. And what we did was targeted specific groups to invite them in for a little tour of our system and kind of get to know us. It didn't work out so well. And I think it didn't work out so well because we went with targeted groups. So what we're going to do is kind of shift gears a little bit and take all the good things about that and open it up. We're going to open it up to the community at large. We're going to open it up to parents. Of course, you have to pre-register for this. But we had a lot of interesting feedback over the past few years from the Rockdale Leadership Group, and many of you know that's a chamber program. And that program has a different designated day to learn about things in the community, and one day is Education Day. And coming into this Education Day, a lot of the participants fill out a survey or express that a negative perception of the school system in general, and maybe of a particular school. And when they leave Education Day, the comments are, wow, I had no idea. Or, gee, I didn't know about Rockdale Career Academy, or Rockdale Magnet School for Science and Technology, or that Honey Creek is going for STEM certification, or that we have things like an Academy for Environmental Sciences coming to Memorial Middle School. So what we decided to do is say, you know what, that's really our testimony to seeing is believing. And so we're going to try this again and launch the Seeing is Believing bus tour. We're going to try to do our first one this spring in the next few months, probably in March. So if you want to kind of keep that on the back of your mind and hear more about that coming up soon, and invite family, friends, and anyone else you'd like to participate. The other thing we're doing with that is we heard the same thing from the Superintendent's Advisory Council. That is generally a meeting that has been held here in the boardroom. And we've taken that meeting on the road, if you will, to different schools, as we've had like the new building of C.J. Hicks, or the expansion of Rockdale County High School with the magnet program and the RCA expansion. And we decided that really it's the same thing. Seeing is believing. When we take this group of people into the schools and they leave with, wow, I had no idea, that's spreading good news and giving people a firsthand experience of our schools. And that's what we want to do. And then the last kind of, not really new, because I've kind of been doing a test with it for a while, but Facebook. And a message went out this past weekend to all of the parents in the district and the staff that our calendar options are on our website, and to visit that. And while you're there, click on the blue F and like us on Facebook. And I know Ms. Northeast been on Facebook tonight even, on our Facebook page. So that's just kind of, bringing a little snapshot of some of the things that we're working on. Here's just a screenshot of our Facebook page. And, okay, Superintendent's Letter of Commendation, and this is something that I want to do monthly, is bring to you the list of our employees who are receiving, and tell you just a little bit about what these employees have done to be recognized. And it's really for that above and beyond. We have employees that every day work very, very hard. And we have employees who are recognized nationally, on a state level, a national level, and even an international level. They're speakers at national conferences, and they're doing things on their own time and with their own energy and money, but they're representing our school system and our students, and we want to recognize them for that. And I will say that our first recipient was Miss Ann Principe, and Ann's actually behind me here and works in my office. So we had to start somewhere, and we started with Ann. And I'm not going to read her letter, but she did let me bring it tonight. I do want to share just the first paragraph and the ending paragraph, so it kind of gives you a feel for what we're doing. The letter of commendation from the superintendent. It is with great pleasure that I write you this letter of commendation for your outstanding performance as a valued employee of Rockdale County Public Schools. Your commitment to excellence is vital to our school system and sets a superior example for other employees, parents, community members, and most importantly, our students. And then we kind of fill in, exactly details about what we're recognizing them for. And then it closes, as you know, it is the people who make an organization great. Please accept my earnest appreciation for your hard work and dedication. And it's signed by our superintendent, and we deliver these in person. And you can see we have delivered several. We have a lot that we have yet to deliver, but I didn't want to put them up here because I didn't want them to know that we're coming. So, and teachers learn about iPads. I know that Mr. Baker and also our superintendent have talked to you about iPads being delivered to our teachers and getting, I think, 10 iPads per school went into the hands of our teachers to, you know, you can't learn about something unless you have it and you touch it and you feel it and then you put it into work. And this is a photo of our teachers collaborating with their new iPads that have been put into the classroom. They're learning about them. They're learning how to integrate teaching and learning with their students. And I bet their students are teaching them a little bit about them too. Upcoming events. We have rounded that corner of the home stretch to springtime, so it is busy, busy, busy. And it is beginning with our social studies fair this Saturday at Memorial Middle School. The Chamber of Commerce has an annual meeting. It is Tuesday, January 2nd. Earlier today I was told that it is almost sold out, so if any board members would like to go, if you will call the Chamber tomorrow and let them know. But one thing that the Chamber does at this annual meeting is award a Partner in Education annual Partner in Education Award from the Chamber Education Committee. So there is a tie to education, and of course they are great partners with us. Technology Showcase and the Helen Ruffin Reading Bowl is Saturday, January 26th at RCA. And the RCA Fast Forward 5K Run, this is also in our strategic plan to promote health and wellness. So I want to see everybody at RCA's 5K Run, Saturday, February 2nd. And of course, our Spring Parent Academy is Saturday, March 16th. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ball. Thank you to all cabinet members for your thorough and detailed reports. Mr. Chairman, if you will, I'll close with some succinct remarks, but I do want to let the board know some happenings. It has been a very eventful and busy 2013 thus far. As Dr. Brundage mentioned, we did meet. I met, and Garrett and some of our other staff members met with Sheriff Levitt and Chief Deputy Scott Freeman. Without going into the details, Garrett mentioned that we were talking about safety, but I was also pleased that the new sheriff also reiterated his commitment to collaborating with the school system, to supporting the school system. I still felt that same strength of partnership with the new sheriff as we did with those, so very pleased with that as well. I mentioned to you before that I presented and Cabinet presented to the Superintendent's Advisory Council. That was at RCA. We took a tour of that edition. Mickey did a great job at the tour, and Cabinet members respectively provided their presentations. Lastly, Garrett alluded to as well, certainly a tragedy in our community, but I did have the opportunity today to visit Grady and go see Miss Glass in the hospital. Certainly not knowing what would be the case, I really did not anticipate being able to get into her room. Cindy and I both went, and when we were there, we saw relatives and family members in the hallway, and Mr. Landerman and a couple of his staff members were there, the principal of Shoal Creek. But as we were leaving, they asked that I come in, and I went in. I saw Miss Glass, and certainly she had some injury, but what I was most pleased about was her spirit. She looked at me and said, "Thank you for being here, and thanks to all of you and your staff for your support." And so with that being said, knowing the hardship that she has endured and will endure, the fact that she's thanking me left me humble. But I will tell you, as I walked out, and I didn't stay too terribly long, as I walked out, the grandmother, Miss Glass's mother, is there, and there were several aunts and supporters there. But the grandmother came to me and grabbed me by the arm before I left, and she said, "Mr. Superintendent, you make sure those teachers get Darnell his work." Darnell's the kindergarten that survived. You make sure that those teachers get Darnell his work so he doesn't fall behind. I said, "Yes, ma'am, I will." So we continue to try to provide moral support to that family and any other support that we can. It's unthinkable as a parent, and I think that's where many of our emotions come into play as a parent. you can't even fathom that type of situation. But I'm very pleased with the fact that this community has showed strong support and rallied around this family, and certainly will do whatever is necessary to make sure that they're supported as much as possible. Upcoming events, Mr. Davis and I will be attending the Eggs and Issues event from the governor at the state capitol January 16th. We certainly want to have a first-hand opportunity to hear what the governor has to say with regards to his priorities and some of the things that may be up for discussion and decision-making with the legislative session. Also, to remind the board yet again that we do have our Board Institute whole board training February 12th from 8 to 4. That'll be in the, Leslie, I think we said in the professional learning. I think that's where we said. So we'll confirm that with you, and Ingrid, if we'll continue to send out reminders. But I will be meeting with the new chairman to talk about that agenda, but we have much of that already in place. And Mr. Chairman, I would ask for you to consider, before regular session, Dr. Williford at C.J. Hicks has requested the participation of myself and one board member with regards to their site visit. You know that C.J. Hicks is going through international baccalaureate accreditation. Their site visit from their independent agency is February 7th and 8th. And he has asked that one of our board members be allowed to participate in some discussions and part of that process. Again, it won't be both of those days. It will only probably be, Leslie, correct me, about an hour or two. Is that?
Yes, sir, on Thursday.
On that Thursday?
Around 3.
We'll get the details, but again, it's not an all-day thing or a two-day thing, but certainly he wants some board support and some board perspective with those evaluation members that will be on his campus. So, Mr. Chairman, if you'll take that into consideration. Yes, sir. That concludes my remarks.
At this time, I'd like for us to take a 5-minute recess so that we can greet our visitors and stretch and do what we gotta do. Yes, sir. We're ready to begin. I would ask the board to review the minutes from December, and we will vote on whether to adopt those minutes next time. We have no old business. We have some new business. Mr. Superintendent?
9.1. Yes, sir. Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. Board meeting schedule.
Superintendent will recommend that the Rockdale County Board of Education adopt the proposed 2013 board meeting schedule as presented, which includes setting the 2014 annual meeting date for January 9th, 2014. Rationale: in accordance with Board Policy BC, board meetings, the board shall hold regular meetings during each calendar month. The dates and the times shall be annually determined and published for 2 consecutive weeks in the official county order. The attached schedule is as follows. I would like to point out to the board that our normal meeting schedule is the 2nd and 3rd Thursday. However, due to winter intercession, fall intercession, and summer gale in which our administrators are in attendance, those are the only exceptions to that rule. So I would ask the board to review that before regular session and provide any comment if necessary.
When is our board retreat?
Our board institute?
Board institute, we call it retreat 1 year a while back in the board institute.
February 12th.
What I was thinking.
8 to 4. That will be at RCA, Mr. Barksdale, and Professional Learning Center.
Okay, next,
we need
9-2, board member.
Sorry.
Excuse me, Jim, we need to vote on the schedule, because it'll be for next week.
Thank you, sir. Well, live and learn.
accept the board meeting schedule.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, raise your hand. 7-4, none opposed.
Thank you, Councilman. 9.2, Board Member Pledge of Ethics in accordance with Board Policy BH, Board Ethics. Each board member is required to annually read policies BH, Board Ethics, and BHA, Conflict of Interest, and then execute the attached Code of Ethics pledge as an expression of their personal desire to follow the guidelines as set out in these two policies and operate in the most ethical and conscientious manner possible. Rationale and execution of the Code of Ethics pledge is one step toward obtaining the Georgia School Boards Association Exemplary Board Classification status. Also, in accordance with Board Policy BH, the signed pledges will become part of the board's minutes for this meeting.
Okay, do we need to vote on that, Mr. Lance?
No, we need every board member to sign the pledge.
I'd like to make a request though.
Yes, ma'am.
Can we read this out loud so the public can hear this and the administrators and everybody so they know?
The pledge?
Yes, sir.
Would you like me to read it?
Yeah, you have
Okay.
a great sign.
Rockdale County Board of Education Code of Ethics Pledge, Board Year 2013. As a board member of the Rockdale County Board of Education, I hereby acknowledge and agree to abide with the Model Code of Ethics as established by the State Department of Education and local board policies BH and BHA. I recognize and agree that this is my legal responsibility under Code of Ethics for Government Service, OCGA 45-10-1 and OCGA 20-2-72, and that my failure to comply with the State Code of Ethics or Board Policies BH or BHA amounts to a violation of the public trust and may result in sanctions.
That was great, but I was really referring to this one.
I would happily read whatever you...
The real pledge, I mean, I know you signed out, but the one that says the board will adhere to the State Board's education model of code ethics as outlined above, in addition to locally established code of ethics as follows.
Training, you'll have to...
Continue on.
No. I'll be happy to read it if you can show me where you're at.
It's on one of the attachments.
You got B, Code BH, and Board Policy and Board of Ethics BH, and then the other one.
And the pledge is at the end,
Right above the signature.
right above that paragraph.
I know, but I'm in paper copy mode. All right, I got Board Policy, Board Code of Ethics, BH. Is that what you'd like for me to read?
I would like for you to read the Code of Ethics Pledge, Item 2, where the board will adhere to the State Board of Education Model Code of Ethics as outlined above, in addition to the locally established Code of Ethics as follows. So locally, Code of Ethics.
Ms. Young, is it what I have on the screen, the big screen?
No, it
It's right
says,
before that.
every board member shall agree to abide by the Model Code of Ethics
Sure.
adopted by the State Board of Education as detailed above. Every board member shall recognize and adhere to the tenet that authority rests only with the whole board assembled in a meeting, and will make no personal promise nor take any individual action which may comprise the board. Each board decision shall be reached only after discussing all aspects of the issue with the other board members in a meeting in complete compliance with any Open Meetings Act in effect at the time of the meeting. Individual board members outside of regularly constituted meetings of the board shall have no authority to make decisions, to commit to the board actions, or to supervise or direct school activities. Every board member shall strive to create a public school system which will meet the individual educational needs of all children, regardless of their ability, race, creed, sex, national origin, or social standing. Every board member shall uphold and enforce all federal and state laws, rules, regulations, and court orders affecting the schools, including the board local policies. No individual board member shall pressure, threaten, or intimidate any administrator, teacher, other employee, or other board members to do a certain thing or a certain way. And then comes the Code of Ethics pledge, which you read.
Okay.
I just want that to be.
Certainly, I appreciate you doing that, Michelle.
Okay, next is review action items for regular session.
10.1, certified allotments. The superintendent will recommend that the Rockdale County Board of Education approve a total of 773 certified teacher allotments for the FY14 budget year as a minimum number of positions needed. This includes 369 elementary teachers, 158 middle school teachers, and 246 high school teachers. This is an increase of 27 regular education teachers for the next year. Allotments for certified support personnel and classified personnel will be done by the point system. Any addition or decrease of certified staffing levels beyond this will be presented for approval with the FY14 budget. Rationale: the approval of the minimum number of certified staff positions is crucial in order to allow principals an adequate window for interviewing and securing quality personnel for the upcoming school year. Teacher allotments are needed due to a student enrollment increase of 131 students and an increase in services to gifted students. Is there any further comment, Mr. Davis?
No, just would, well, I guess if I would make a comment, yes. It's just point out it is a minimum. We will bring you the final allotments along with the tentative budget in between the April-May time frame. So this also allows us the ability for Mr. Marco, Mr. Baker, and Dr. Brunage and I to meet with the principals to work on their staffing plans.
Okay, 10.2, staffing points.
Superintendent will recommend that the Rockdale County Board of Education approve the staffing points allocation for the FY14 budget year as presented. Again, previously mentioned, the approval of the staffing points allocation is crucial in order to allow principals an adequate window for hiring quality personnel. You also have supporting documents there, elementary, middle, and high school. All of our schools with their points allotments. Mr. David, can you briefly describe the points concept to our new board members, please?
We have a points plan that we used for the past 7 or 8 years, and it basically allows our principals some flexibility. We give them the value of 1 point is 1 teacher slot. The value of a parapro is 0.3. So they have a certain degree of discretion where they can say, I'd rather have 3 parapros than 1 teacher. These are for some additional type things. And if you like, I'll make sure I provide that points allocation formula to you. I'll send that to everyone electronically. With the new board members, I just wasn't thinking of that. But it's a way for really to allow our principals, they've really enjoyed it over the past few years, a little bit of discretion on how they staff their school while basically keeping the money expended all allocated in the same manner.
Any questions, board members?
Okay, 10.3, personnel.
Superintendent will recommend that the Rockdale County Board of Education approve all personnel recommendations, resignations, and terminations for January 2013 as presented. This is our standard report on personnel.
And 10.4, K through 12 Solutions Group contract.
This is the action item that Mr. Baker was referring to and that was included in his presentation with regards to student information system. Superintendent will recommend that the Rockdale County Board of Education approve the selection of K-12 Solutions Group as the vendor of choice from proposals submitted on October 5th, 2012 for a 5-year contract to provide hardware, software, and services for in-district hosting of the student information system. Mr. Baker mentioned that this is part of our 3-year technology plan. He mentioned the need to update our infrastructure to move forward with the system's vision and to be certainly in preparation for advanced communications to our parents and to our community. I do want to point out financial impact. The district's financial obligation is $185,990.20. This is funded through SPLOST 3. Technology improvements and technology infrastructure was an explicit part of SPLOST 3. There is no impact to our general fund.
Do I hear a motion that we vote on these separately? Or do I hear a motion that we combine?
Make a motion, we do an omnibus for 1, 2, and 3. and then have a standalone for item 4 because of the large dollar amount involved.
Second. Mr. Smith presented a motion, Mr. Barksdale second. Those for, raise your hand. Those opposed? 7 for, 0 opposed. Is there any need for board discussion? We will have an executive session. Do I hear a motion that
I
we
move we
go?
go into executive session.
Second.
Mr. Barksdale made the motion, Ms. Young second. At this time, we'll move into executive session.
All the board members will sign their pledge and give it to.
It's ready to go.
Thank you, she can take it.